The courtroom was silent, heavy with tension, as the ex-soldier entered, his hands cupped and his eyes fixed on the floor. Once a decorated hero, now a man caught in a web of personal demons, he stood before the judge not to plead, but to make one final request, to say goodbye to his loyal companion, his dog, Max. The room buzzed with quiet confusion, unsure what to expect. Then, the doors opened, and Max trotted in, tail wagging, eyes full of recognition and unconditional love. As the soldier knelt down, emotions poured out in a flood. Tears streamed down his face as Max placed a paw gently on his chest, resting his head against his master's shoulder. No one in the courtroom remained unaffected. Even the judge paused, his voice momentarily caught in his throat. What was meant to be a routine proceeding turned into something unforgettable, a moment of raw humanity, love, and redemption. It was a reminder that even in our darkest hours, loyalty and connection endure. That simple goodbye between a man and his dog echoed louder than any sentence handed down that day. The courtroom was stunned and forever changed. It was supposed to be a routine court hearing, another case on a long docket, another name read aloud. The ex-soldier entered quietly, his expression unreadable, weighed down by years of service, trauma, and recent mistakes. Those in the courtroom expected legal arguments, sentencing, and signatures. But what happened next turned an ordinary morning into a moment no one would forget. The soldier made a heartfelt request to the judge, a final goodbye to his dog, Max. The judge, initially hesitant, allowed it. Moments later, the doors opened, and Max entered the courtroom. The atmosphere shifted instantly. The dog rushed forward, tail wagging furiously, eyes locked on his human. The soldier dropped to his knees, embracing Max as though holding onto a lifeline. Tears flowed freely, his, the spectators, even the bailiffs. There was no dialogue, no explanation needed. In that one moment, love, loyalty, and the invisible scars of war were all on display. The courtroom, usually a place of cold procedure, became a sanctuary of raw, human emotion. That unexpected reunion reminded everyone present that sometimes, justice must make room for compassion. And sometimes, healing comes in the form of a wagging tail and a silent embrace. The courtroom was filled with murmurs and the clicking of keyboards as the trial proceeded. At the center sat a young girl, no older than 9, brought in to testify in a case that had gripped the community. She was flanked by her service dog, a calm and watchful golden retriever trained to support her through trauma. As the prosecutor gently asked questions, the girl responded quietly, her voice wavering but steady. But when the defense began cross-examination, the tone shifted. The girl's hands began to tremble. She avoided eye contact and pulled the leash closer. Then, almost imperceptibly, she made a small, rehearsed gesture, just a flick of her fingers. Her dog immediately responded, standing and placing a paw on her leg. The sudden movement drew everyone's attention. The judge leaned forward, puzzled. The defense paused. And just like that, the entire room fell silent. The judge, informed beforehand of the girl's training with her service dog, quickly recognized the signal. Without hesitation, he called for an immediate recess. The trial came to a halt, not from legal drama, but from the silent power of trust between a child and her companion, a gesture that spoke volumes without a single word. It was a high-profile case, one that had drawn media attention and filled the courtroom seats. But no one expected the most powerful moment to come from a child and her dog. She was small, barely able to see over the witness stand, and visibly nervous as she took her seat. By her side sat her loyal service dog, a golden retriever trained to help her cope with anxiety and trauma. The courtroom had been instructed to allow the dog to remain with her, but no one imagined just how vital his presence would be. As questioning began, the little girl answered with soft, trembling words. But as the defense attorney pressed harder, her composure began to falter. Her hand slipped down beside her, and with a subtle motion, she gave a silent command. Instantly, her dog rose, leaned against her, and let out a low, alert whine. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The judge's gavel froze midair. Lawyers and spectators sat stunned. The signal had been invisible to most, but it was a cry for help the dog understood without hesitation. The trial paused, not due to legal objections, but from a moment so raw and real it left the entire courtroom in shock.